The entire room went silent when Emily started crying. Not the quiet kind of tears you wipe away quickly. These were the kind that made people stop mid-conversation and stare. Her hands were trembling, her eyes red, her breath uneven. And standing right in front of her, was Daniel. Everyone expected her to walk away. After everything that had happened, it would have been the obvious choice. The whispers around the room said the same thing. "Don't do it, Emily. He doesn't deserve another chance." But Emily looked up at him through the tears. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The air between them felt heavy with things left unsaid. Daniel looked different tonight. Not confident like usual. Not the guy who always had the right words. His eyes were filled with something unfamiliar, fear. The fear of losing her. A year ago, they were inseparable. Best friends who slowly became something more. The kind of love people believed in. Until one mistake shattered everything. Trust once broken is hard to rebuild. And Daniel knew that better than anyone. He had spent months trying to fix what he had ruined. Letters. Apologies. Late-night messages he never knew if she read. And now here they were. Emily wiped her tears slowly. The room was still watching. Then she did something no one expected. She stepped forward, reached for his hand, and held it tightly. Her voice trembled, but her words were clear. "Daniel," she said softly, "if I'm choosing someone, it's you." She looked straight into his eyes. "Yours, or no one." And in that moment, Daniel realized something that changed everything. Daniel couldn't believe what he was hearing. Emily's hand was still holding his, but his mind was racing through every mistake he had made. The night he broke her trust. The moment he realized he might have lost the one person who truly understood him. He had prepared himself for rejection. But not this. "Emily, why?" he whispered, his voice barely steady. The room was still watching, but she didn't care anymore. "Because love isn't about never making mistakes," she said quietly. "It's about what someone does after they realize they've made one." Daniel swallowed hard. For months, he had tried to show her he had changed. Not with promises, but with actions. He quit the reckless habits that once pulled him away. He focused on rebuilding his life, piece by piece. But deep down, he believed it was too late. Emily had every reason to walk away. She took a deep breath before speaking again. "You hurt me," she admitted, her voice shaking. "More than anyone ever has." Daniel's heart sank. "But," she continued, tightening her grip on his hand, "you're also the only one who stayed and fought to fix it." A quiet murmur spread across the room. People expected drama tonight. Maybe even a final goodbye. But something different was happening. Daniel looked at her, his eyes glassy with emotion. "I don't deserve you," he said honestly. Emily shook her head. "No," she said softly. "But maybe you're finally becoming the man who does." For the first time in months, Daniel allowed himself to feel something he thought was gone forever. Hope. But what neither of them knew was that their biggest test was still waiting just around the corner. 2 weeks later, everything seemed different. Daniel and Emily weren't trying to pretend the past never happened. Instead, they faced it head-on, awkward conversations, honest apologies, and rebuilding trust one day at a time. For the first time, their relationship felt real. Not perfect. But real. One evening, as they walked through the park where they first met, Daniel stopped suddenly. "Emily," he said nervously, "there's something I never told you." Her smile faded slightly. "What is it?" Daniel looked down for a moment before meeting her eyes again. "Right after we broke up, I got a job offer in Seattle." Emily blinked in surprise. "Seattle?" He nodded slowly. "I didn't take it," he said. "Because I thought if there was even the smallest chance to fix things with you, I wanted to stay." Emily felt a mix of emotions rush through her. But they called again yesterday, Daniel continued. And they still want me. The words hung in the air between them. Seattle was nearly 3,000 miles away. A fresh start. A huge opportunity. Emily stared at the ground, processing everything. You should go, she finally said. Daniel frowned. What? You worked hard for that chance, she said softly. I don't want to be the reason you give it up. But I just got you back, Daniel replied. Emily smiled gently, though her eyes were slightly watery. Then prove this time that we're strong enough to survive distance. Daniel studied her face. And in that moment, he realized something important. Love wasn't about holding someone back. Sometimes it meant letting them chase their future. 3 months later, Daniel stood inside a small apartment in Seattle, staring at his phone. Emily's photo lit up the screen as they video called every night, just like they promised. But long distance wasn't easy. Different schedules. Different time zones. Days where they missed each other by minutes. Still, neither of them gave up. Guess what? Emily said one evening, her excitement filling the call. What? I got accepted. Accepted where? Emily grinned. A graduate program, in Seattle. Daniel froze. Wait, what? She laughed at his stunned expression. I applied weeks ago. I didn't tell you because I didn't want you thinking I was following you. Daniel shook his head in disbelief. You're serious? Very. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Daniel smiled wider than he had in months. When do you move? Emily pretended to think. Well, if someone were willing to help me carry boxes. Daniel laughed. I'll be there. But when Emily arrived in Seattle 2 weeks later, Daniel had something she didn't expect waiting. Not flowers. Not a fancy dinner. Instead, he took her back to the exact park where they first walked together in the city. Emily looked confused. Why here? Daniel took a deep breath and reached into his pocket. Because after losing her once, he never wanted to risk losing her again. Daniel dropped to one knee. Emily's eyes widened instantly. Daniel. I know I messed up in the past, he said, his voice steady but emotional. And I know trust isn't something you promise, it's something you prove. People walking through the park slowed down, quietly noticing the moment unfolding. But these past months, Daniel continued, you showed me something I didn't fully understand before. Emily covered her mouth, tears forming again. You showed me that love isn't about finding someone perfect, he said. It's about choosing the same person again and again, even after things fall apart. He opened the small box. Inside was a simple ring. Emily, he said softly, I don't just want a second chance. He looked straight into her eyes. I want a lifetime of chances with you. Tears streamed down her cheeks, but this time they were different. They weren't tears of pain. They were tears of certainty. Daniel added one last sentence. You once told me something I'll never forget. Emily already knew what he meant. You said. Yours or no one. He smiled. So, will you be mine? Emily laughed through her tears and nodded quickly. Yes. Of course, yes. As Daniel slipped the ring onto her finger, Emily realized something powerful. Love doesn't mean never breaking. It means having the courage to rebuild, together. And sometimes, the strongest relationships are the ones that almost didn't survive.